What lurked beneath Derry's streets before Pennywise? Before the red balloons, before the sewers, there was a force so ancient, so utterly alien it predates human comprehension. For decades, Stephen King's IT has terrified readers and viewers with the image of Pennywise the dancing clown, a cosmic entity that feeds on fear and returns every 27 years to haunt the children of Derry, Maine. But Pennywise is not the beginning of Derry's horror. It is just the latest in a long line of malevolent forces that have cursed the town. Beneath the surface of Derry's quiet streets, beneath the sewers where Pennywise dwells, beneath the very soil that the town is built on, lies something far older, far darker, far more terrifying. A primordial entity that has whispered to the minds of Derry's inhabitants for centuries. A force that warped reality, shaped the town's destiny, and laid the groundwork for Pennywise's reign of terror. Join us as we venture into the darkest corners of Derry's forgotten past. We will dig through historical records, uncover ancient legends, analyze Stephen King's textual clues, and unearth the true cosmic horror that has haunted Derry long before Pennywise ever donned his red nose. This is not just a journey into the lore of IT. It is a descent into the heart of darkness. An exploration of a town cursed by an evil so ancient it predates humanity itself. We will reveal how this entity shaped Derry's tragedies, how it influenced its inhabitants, how it gave birth to Pennywise, and how it continues to linger in the town's shadows long after the clown's apparent defeat. Brace yourselves, because the truth about Derry's darkest corner is more terrifying than any clown. It is a truth that will change the way you see IT, the way you see Stephen King's universe, and the way you think about the nature of evil itself. To understand Derry's curse, we must look beyond Pennywise. The dancing clown is a terrifying entity, a cosmic predator that feeds on fear. But it is not the root of Derry's evil. It is just a symptom, a manifestation of a deeper, more ancient malevolence that has stained Derry's soil for millennia. This pre-existent evil is the true genesis of fear in Derry. It is a force that has shaped the town's destiny, that has warped its reality, that has ensured that Derry will always be a place of suffering and terror. Let's start by introducing the concept of this deeper evil. Derry is not just a town with a bad luck streak. It is a place where reality bends, where nightmares become real, where children disappear without a trace. These are not random occurrences. They are the work of an ancient entity, a being that exists outside the bounds of time and space, a force that feeds on the negative emotions of humanity. Fear, sorrow. This entity is not like Pennywise. It does not have a physical form. It does not shapeshift into its victims' worst nightmares. It is a presence, a feeling, a whisper in the dark. It influences the minds of Derry's inhabitants, driving them to violence, to madness, to despair. It warps the town's reality, making impossible things possible, making nightmares come true. It is the reason why Derry has such a long history of tragedies, the reason why children disappear every 27 years, the reason why Pennywise was able to thrive in the town's sewers. Now let's explore the cosmic, almost Lovecraftian roots of this entity. H.P. Lovecraft's cosmic horror often features ancient, incomprehensible entities that exist beyond human understanding, entities that view humanity as insignificant, that feed on our fear and despair. This forgotten entity in Derry fits perfectly into this tradition. It is a cosmic force, a being from a dimension beyond our own, an entity that has existed since the beginning of time. Its true form is incomprehensible to human minds. We can only perceive it through its effects, through the tragedies it causes, through the fear it inspires. This entity's cosmic nature explains why it has such a profound influence on Derry. It is not bound by the laws of physics. It is not limited by time or space. It can manipulate reality. It can influence minds. It can ensure that Derry remains a hotbed of evil for centuries. The entity's Lovecraftian roots also explain why it preys on children. Children are more susceptible to fear, more open to the supernatural, more able to perceive the entity's true nature. They are the perfect victims, the perfect source of sustenance for a cosmic horror that feeds on negative emotions. Now let's establish how this prior malevolence laid the groundwork for its eventual manifestation and reign of terror. Pennywise is not an independent entity. It is a product of Derry's curse, a manifestation of the ancient evil that has haunted the town for millennia. The entity created Pennywise. Or perhaps, Pennywise is a fragment of the entity. a physical form that allows the entity to interact with our world, to feed on fear in a more direct way. The ancient entity laid the groundwork for Pennywise's reign of terror by shaping Derry into a town of fear and despair. It ensured that the town's inhabitants were primed for Pennywise's attacks, that they were vulnerable to the clown's manipulations, that they would not question the disappearances of children, that they would turn a blind eye to the horror unfolding around them. The entity also created the perfect environment for Pennywise to thrive. The sewers of Derry are not just a place to hide, they are a gateway to the entity's dimension, a place where reality is warped, where Pennywise can draw power from the entity, where it can heal its wounds, where it can hibernate between cycles. The enduring stain of Derry's true genesis of fear is a powerful force. It is a curse that has lasted for millennia. It is a force that has shaped the town's destiny. It is an evil that has given birth to Pennywise. And it is a horror that will never truly be defeated. Derry is not just haunted by a clown. It is haunted by an ancient cosmic evil. A force so powerful, so incomprehensible, that it will continue to plague the town long after Pennywise is gone. The nameless horror that haunts Derry is not just a theory. It is a presence that can be felt in the town's history, in its legends, in its tragedies. To unearth this entity, we must dig through the forgotten lore of Derry. We must examine the subtle textual clues in Stephen King's It. We must connect the dots between unexplained historical events and the entity's influence. And we must explore its connections to Stephen King's wider multiverse. Let's start with ancient legends and forgotten lore. Derry has a long history of supernatural legends, stories of strange lights in the sky, of voices whispering from the sewers, of children disappearing in the woods. These legends are not just fairy tales. They are echoes of the nameless horror. They are the way the town's inhabitants have tried to make sense of an incomprehensible evil. One of the most compelling legends is that of the blackspot, a term used by Derry's older residents to describe a feeling of dread, a sense that something evil is watching, a presence that lingers in certain parts of the town. This black spot is often associated with the sewers, with the woods on the outskirts of town, with the old Derry Canal. These are the places where the nameless horror's influence is strongest, where Pennywise is most likely to be found. Textual clues in It also hint at the existence of a pre-identity. In the novel, King describes Derry as a town with a bad smell, a smell of rot, of decay, of evil. This smell is not just a product of the sewers. It is a manifestation of the nameless horror, a sign of its presence in the town. King also describes how Derry's inhabitants have a tendency to forget, to ignore the tragedies around them, to turn a blind eye to the disappearances of children. This collective amnesia is not a coincidence. It is the work of the nameless horror. It is a way for the entity to ensure that its existence remains a secret, that its feeding ground remains intact. Deleted scenes from the It films also provide hints about the nameless horror. In a deleted scene from the 2017 film, Beverly Marsh finds a pile of ancient artifacts in the sewers, including a Native American totem, a pre-colonial knife, and a journal written in an unknown language. These artifacts suggest that the nameless horror has been haunting Derry long before European settlers arrived, that it has preyed on multiple generations of inhabitants. Now let's connect the black spot's influence to unexplained historical tragedies and bad luck in Derry. Derry has a long history of unexplained tragedies. The 1989 Derry standpipe explosion, the 1962 Derry Canal tragedy, the disappearance of hundreds of children over the decades. These events are often dismissed as accidents, as the result of bad luck. But they are not. They are the work of the nameless horror. The black spot's influence is evident in these tragedies. The standpipe explosion killed 29 people, many of them children. The explosion was blamed on a gas leak, but witnesses reported seeing strange lights in the sky before the explosion, hearing voices whispering, feeling a sense of dread. These are all signs of the nameless horror's influence. The Derry Canal tragedy claimed the lives of 12 children. The children were playing near the canal when they suddenly disappeared. Their bodies were never found. Witnesses reported seeing a strange mist rising from the canal, hearing voices calling the children's names. This is another example of the nameless horror's influence. The entity uses the black spot to draw victims to certain locations, to create accidents, to ensure that its feeding ground remains productive. Now let's explore how this entity might tie into Stephen King's wider multiverse. Stephen King's novels are connected by a shared multiverse. a network of dimensions, each with its own rules, its own horrors, its own entities. The nameless horror in Derry is likely part of this multiverse. It may be related to other cosmic entities in King's works, such as the Outer Gods from the Cthulhu mythos, or the Crimson King from the Dark Tower series. The entity's connection to the multiverse explains its cosmic nature, its ability to manipulate reality, its longevity. It is a being that exists beyond the bounds of a single dimension, a force that can move between worlds, that can influence multiple realities. The entity's connection to the multiverse also suggests that Derry is not the only town haunted by this evil. There may be other towns, other dimensions, other worlds where the nameless horror preys on sentient beings, where it lays the groundwork for other manifestations of evil. Echoes from the primordial past are all around us, in Derry's legends, in its tragedies, in its connection to the multiverse. The nameless horror is a real entity, a force that has haunted Derry for millennia, a being that is part of Stephen King's wider cosmic horror landscape, and it is a horror that will continue to echo through the ages.